A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth in moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. Today, we are welcomed back by Shinjini, who's actually been on our podcast 2 or 3 times. So we love having her back. She is such an inspiration for the world of go getter energy. She is the CEO and founder of the DAS Media Group, named as one of the top 10 motivational speakers by Yahoo Finance. She helps go getters follow their dreams and reach their goals through content creation, digital marketing, and generational wealth and growth, which is a beautiful topic. I think it's so wonderful to have you back on the podcast, Shinjini. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Ari. I'm so happy to be here and I love working with you. I think you're so professional and you're such a go-getter. So I love supporting you and anything that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. I feel like whenever the divine feminine connects through a space of authenticity, such magic can be captured and co-created. So thank you so much for joining. And I think especially coming into the new year, so many people are kind of striving to be like a newer version of themselves, a newer, better, brighter version. And I think, how can people replenish that go-getter energy, especially after burnout? We all experience burnout, and especially when it comes to after the New Year cycle, there's this craving to want to throw out all of the past and start fresh. What is your take on that?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with sort of a controversial thought, Ari, which is I don't think you should ever get to burnout. I think part of the journey is also cultivating enough self-awareness, so that we're not there, so that we stop before we get fully burnt out. I think that's like a really big part of the story here. But I also think that having that self awareness means resting more. It means resting regularly. I just posted about this right before we started talking, that if your life doesn't have any room for rest, why have you built it that way? Because I genuinely think part of the problem is, and for those of you listening who are already burnt out, the genuinely the first question I have for you is, how did you get here? Because if we don't change how we're living, we're never going to fix this situation. So I think that's the first part of the story. I think the second part of the story is involving regular periods of rest and regular periods of rejuvenation, which I promise you, no one is doing.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I think the art of consistency is so crucial here, and you made such a good point. You kind of have to go backwards into how you created your lifestyle, your life path, because oftentimes it's so unconscious. We kind of just like fumble through and just try to get on with the day. But yeah, like you mentioned, we do have to become more aware of the steps that lead us into exhaustion. And it's so critical to actually not lead into the burnout, but to take notes, to have the intuition, which is also a whole journey. I think a lot of people who are on the empath journey are figuring out, like, oh, what is my intuition telling me? And the more we quiet our minds, we can actually start hearing signs or listening to our body. Do you have any kind of like spiritual, intuitive way to listen to your body when it's telling you, like, okay, I am heading into burnout? I have to take note, take a step back, and yes, prioritize rest.
Totally. Totally. I think a lot of meditation, is helping me a lot. A lot of grounded, just like affirmations, positive affirmations, limiting belief, erasure meditations. I just think doing it like a daily practice, like even 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day is really helping me a lot. Cause I'm also big on, I don't know if I can commit to an hour of that a day. And so the advice that I also give to my go-getters is, what can you commit to? And I can definitely commit to 5 minutes a day of just a quick morning meditation. You can find this on Spotify. Just search morning meditation, 5 minute afternoon meditation. There's so many playlists, Ari. And I promise you, for me, the game changer was just adjusting the length. And the minute I was able to adjust the length, is when I found myself being able to commit to a daily, usually night practice, or a morning and night practice, or just a morning practice. And I think that that has helped me a lot. Really reconnect with myself, that I don't have to go so hard. I don't have to work so hard or try so hard. And I think also what's helping is when you meditate like that, you fill yourself up with energy to where you are now just like so full of energy that you don't feel the need to work that hard and go that that like you have enough value. So basically you're going to work just as much as you need to, not so much that you're burnt out and that you don't have any boundaries anymore
A,
you know
a If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner adult ballet and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free. Televital supports focus, energy, immunity, sleep, recovery, and resilience. Start feeling better today on a cellular level with zeolite, super green juice, micronutrient gut support, and more. Get over 50% off your first order for Televital. Link in the description of the podcast. Unlock your best life with Soul app. Book a holistic wellness experience with a trained guide and start changing your life today with compassion practices, inner healing, food and diet, and so much more. Tap into a healthier and happier life with the number one purposeful living app in the US, the Soul app. Link in the description of the podcast. 100%. I love what you said, and the idea of meditation is so interesting because there are so many different kinds of ways to meditate. It's not like a one size fits all. Like, I know people who love a specific kind of music, another kind where it's just like sounds of the ocean or sounds of birds. It's like there's so many different frequencies and tunes to help your nervous system reset. And I think it's great to kind of try to figure out what is your style, what makes you feel comfortable, and what makes you feel safe. I think oftentimes, like, the journey of the divine feminine, especially, is she gets burnt out because she doesn't feel safe. Also, men experience this too in different ways in relationships and friendships, at work. The idea of safety really brings out so much awareness within us. And also, interestingly enough, today is National Hugging Day. So I feel like hugging is also such a great tool to bring safety into the moment. And it's like, hug people you love, hug your friends, hug children. I mean, if it's, not creepy and if they're like your actual friends, it's like
right,
giving
totally.
out love unconditionally in a
Yeah.
space where you're not requiring to get back from people. I think hugging is such a great energy exchange, and it's an opportunity to deepen connection, deepen the ability to understand each other also, because through connection, isn't that how we feel confidence, we feel comfort, and then we're able to have that energy to go on and do our daily tasks.
Totally, totally, absolutely. And everything that you're talking about, that I'm talking about, is about energy management, and I think that's where people's focus should be, specifically go getters. Focus should be on energy management and how do I manage my energy? Because part of the problem with burning out is not the actual burnout, but it's the fact that you don't even know what your limits are. You're just like you're flying without full visibility of like your own limits and what you need to do and what you don't need to do and all of that. So I think that to me is the bigger problem here. But also, yeah, reconnecting to your own spiritual practices. I'm doing a lot of herbal tea I'm doing a lot of like chamomile tea. I'm watching a lot of videos, on, those clean girl, reset. She like wakes up, does her skincare, drinks the herbal chamomile tea. Like, I think also just the influences that you have in your life. What are you watching? What are you surrounding yourself by? So I watch all that stuff, all the time. Like if you see my YouTube history, it's all just like a clean girl reset, and she works out in the morning, and everything is very like ease. Like it's a lot of ease. It's not like stress, and she's doing all this stuff. Like it's not like stressful. The videos that I watch are very calming, and she takes like an hour for her skincare. Now, I know people watching this will say, "Oh, I don't have time. I have kids, I have this." But honestly, my challenge to everybody watching this, Ari, is how can you restructure your life so that you have an hour for skincare? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think part of the problem is so many, especially women's lives, are just structured wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's such a great point. And I think that's also inviting more women to take accountability of that. And once you're able to take accountability of what you want, you can restructure it the way that feels comfortable for you. I love how you mentioned herbal teas and all those things. It's so wonderful. The ease part, it's so true. I think giving yourself permission to be in that space can be daunting in
Mhm.
the beginning because it's like, wait a second, why am I not rushed? Why am I
Yeah.
like taking my
Yeah.
time? It can feel so jarring to
Mhm.
the body,
Yeah.
but that is like a mindset shift. Also, you're shifting the way you are reacting and interacting with your environment, and it also, like you mentioned, the energetics of it all. It shifts how you navigate the world around you. So it's going to give you more of an expansion. You're not going to feel uptight or rushed. And I think when we do rush, it gives us anxiety. We want to minimize anxiety,
Right.
minimize all the hassles of overreactivity, and kind of like lean into the space of presence, integrity, and this is how we figure out who we are, right? We're figuring out like on a more spiritual level.
Totally. But you just nailed the biggest barrier to more women living this way, Ari, which is that it feels so unfamiliar to where it actually starts feeling wrong. It feels like you're doing something wrong because around you, not a lot of women are living that way, right? At all, right? And so there's a lot of resistance in your body to living this way, right? But I think something that's been helping me a lot is that, I'm trying to, make a promise to myself that every day I'm inching further and further away from sort of this craziness and, just feeling, so rushed and all that. So it's like every day that I meditate or every day that I drink this tea, I am moving in the right direction. So because I felt all these same feelings where I felt like, oh my God, this actually feels scary. Talk about basically I'm trying to do this stuff so I feel safe, but actually it ended up feeling scary because no one around me operates this way, and I'm not alone. I think many people around us don't operate this way at all. It's not just like me, it's pretty much everyone, men or women, by the way. I also I have an 80% male following, which I think I've told you before, at Speaker Shinjini, and I mean, they're all stressed to the moon too, right? So it's not just women, it's also men, and I think I'm realizing that I think something that's helping me. So maybe this can help all of you as well. Is if I want to live differently, I have to act differently, and that will lead me to a different result. And every day I am getting closer and closer to living that way, so that hopefully when I teach more kids or whatever in the future to live like this, it will be more normal for them because they will see me live that way, and things like that, right? So yeah, but it's all of us, we have to completely change how we're wired, not just for one generation, but for maybe 15 generations ago, right? Which is like crazy, right? So I mean, that
Yes.
just should show you that how hard this is actually to do. Yeah.
Wow. So, so true. I completely agree. And I think, like you mentioned, that it feels so scary and uncommon. I think you're exactly right. We are kind of the generation of cycle breakers from past generations. So we are healing ancestral trauma, ancestral cycles of our lineage, of our culture, taking this initiative and integration of moving through the frequencies and the cycles and timelines of the
Yeah.
past is really traumatizing, because in a way we are reliving it as we are shifting it, and it's like bringing into consciousness, into form, the awareness, which is kind of like bringing a memory to the forefront, and then also choosing a different path, which is like completely shifting the DNA of our body, shifting the cells,
Mm.
shifting how we think, how we
Correct.
interpret things. It's like a whole, it's a whole new system, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. But the one thing that, I think go-getters can commit to, Ari, is daily practice and like, are you moving towards the finish line? And that's why I love, like, my phone right now has, meditate for 5 minutes a day, because that is moving me to the finish line. And I also want to be clear that there is a finish line. This is not just an ever evolving journey of healing and lifelong journey of trying to be the divine feminine. I do think there's an end point, right? And I know that, like, I know where I am compared to the end point, and I think that, like, I'm getting closer every day. So I think that's also like something that, I want people to know, that this is not just like you do this forever. Like, we're trying to architect the transformation to become divinely feminine. And then once we're there, like, we're there. You know what I'm saying? And then my goal personally would be to maintain my divine feminine form, right? So I would say, like, everybody watching this, the first goal is to get there, right? To lose the weight, and then you have to keep the weight what it is, and that requires a lot of work as well. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
No, I mean, I'm,
beautiful.
I'm just, no, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because so many people think that and it's kind of magical, and it just happens, and you are this goddess. But for most of us, we come from a lot of trauma, most of us, right? As women. And so for us, it's actually a lot of very difficult work. It's work, to try to reverse the trauma and to build this beautiful, foundation of goddess energy, feminine energy. Because, like, I see so much content online, Ari, about like men, don't pay for dates anymore, and men don't do this anymore. But do you know the real answer? The real answer is most women are not in their divine feminine energy. And so men are responding to that, right? And so then men are like not paying for this, not pay, but what I'm saying is, when I show up in this way, all of a sudden now I'm getting really good treatment, I'm getting really good, everything, because I have changed how I show up. So there are some measurable benefits to living like this. But I think what I'm realizing is, for most of us, to get to this point of being able to live like this is a lot of hard work, Ari. And if someone is not being honest about that, then that's wrong. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. I think that is so true, and it's not sugarcoating it. It's just stating the fact that it is kind of part of the soul's mission, and oftentimes the soul's mission can be what people run away from because it is so hard. It's like the last thing you want to think about when you want to take responsibility for yourself, because you want the easy way out. You want to have just like all the fun that you see on social media that oftentimes just shows the fun. And I think it is beautiful to show
Right.
the beauty and the fun and the easy parts. But we have so many
Yeah.
spiritual people and spiritual accounts and podcasts like this podcast that
Mm.
is focused on talking about the hard stuff, the integration, the not sugarcoating. And I love that. I love that so many people are becoming aware of that, because it is such a
Mm.
gift, and it is
Mhm.
pushing people to be more authentic and to be more transparent. And I think that's the gift that we can give ourselves and each other. And this is the hard part. Like you said, it's so true. The hard part is usually going to bring you the most joy long term, because you're not skipping steps, you're
Mhm.
not cheating yourself, and that integration only becomes sweeter because you get to know yourself so much better through the shadow work, which is the most inconvenient and the most uncomfortable. But like you said, it is so revealing and it's so inspiring to find yourself. And this journey is going to also teach you so many lessons about who you used to be, like the version of yourself that you allowed to be mistreated, or you allowed um, people to take for
Mhm.
granted. And like you mentioned, that you're sitting in your
Yeah.
feminine energy and you're able to receive. That is such a beautiful thing. And to be able to
Yeah.
receive as a feminine, it's going to also heal so many generations where women were just scared to receive because they
Mhm.
didn't know if what they're receiving is good, or it's something that
Mhm.
they feel they just have to accept and there's no alternative. So there is so much there.
Totally. Totally. And also, like, I also want to make a point, Ari, that, we were all, if you think about it, we were all born feminine, right? Women, right? So I think there's also a question of how traumatized are you? Meaning, how far away from your core essence did your trauma take you? So because, and I'll be honest, some people have to heal more than others. That's what I'm saying. And
So
as a
true.
result, some women have to heal less than others because their upbringing, parents, background wasn't as, excuse my language, but wasn't as messed up as some, right? And so I think that that's also where part of my own work with myself comes from, is that how far away from the goal, did I go, right? And was that my, upbringing? Was that, what my parents thought about women? Because also a lot of this trauma comes from, like, how you were told women should be, or, like, if you were told, like, never speak up, never say your needs, never do, like, that's going to take a lot of work to relearn, because in a relationship, in anything, like, you have to, speak up, and you have to say what your needs are, you have to say what your, requirements are. And if you don't, I think that you will get, screwed over, right? So I think that there's also an element of how far away are you from your goal, right? From your ideal state of woman. And so I know that answer for myself. And I also know what maybe caused me to move away from that ideal situation. And I'm fixing, all of that. But again, doing things like that 5 minutes every day is really helping me stay on track. Because I think the other part that people forget about this is maintaining your goddess energy, Ari, is a full-time job. And I'm not just saying hair, makeup, and skincare. I'm saying nourishing your soul, protecting your boundaries, not letting toxic people in, not letting toxic men in, worshiping yourself, praying, meditating, honoring yourself, making money for yourself, buying good clothes for yourself, just respecting yourself is actually a full-time job. So, I think it's a lot of hard work to get to this point where you're rich, you're healthy, you're happy, you have good relationships, you have ironclad boundaries. It takes a lot of work to get there. So,
That is so
yeah.
beautiful. And like you said, respecting yourself is a full-time job. I absolutely love that. I think we should make like a journal or something called that because it's so true.
Yeah.
The idea
Yes.
that you're disrespecting yourself, if you're seeing it from like a bird's eye view, it's daunting how much we disrespect ourselves just
Right.
by wanting to either like fit in or to be accepted. We think we're accepted when people disrespect us, but we're not actually accepted if we are disconnecting parts of ourselves just to please somebody else. I think, like you mentioned, going through the struggles and the journey of figuring out who you are, based on your ancestry, that's also such a big message of awareness to bring parts all parts of yourselves in every room. And for people who reject that, it's only a redirection because so many people are afraid of rejection,
Hmm.
but it shouldn't dictate how much you are rejecting yourself. You know, people can totally reject you because people don't know themselves either. It's like we're just getting
That's
to
right.
know ourselves. So I think the
That's right.
message of feeling rejected is obviously not comfortable one. It's not a space we want to be in, but I think it also helps to redirect us to, like you mentioned, to build a brand. And you mentioned on the sheet here that I took notes, like how to align your personal brand to your goal setting vision in your career and personal life in 2026. And I love that. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, yeah, how can we do that when it comes to building our personal brand?
Totally, totally. And also, I pause on the journal. We're definitely going to be thinking about merchandise soon. So when the time comes, I definitely want to collaborate with specifically women and creators that I admire, that I think that we're saying the same thing. So when the time comes, please table that idea because I am serious about, getting into that line of business as well. And yeah, journals, manifestations, like really helping people actionably take control of their mindset and health in that way, to be a go-getter. So table that thought, we will come back to it. And to answer your question, yeah, to answer your question, look, I think you're basically, what I was getting at with that point is that your personal brand should be a collection of your own core values, and it should reflect who you are. You should not feel like it's something else, or I have to go to work and then do this thing, and then I come home and actually that's where I'm happiest. Like whenever I hear stuff like that, we've worked with over 150 businesses now, small businesses, with their branding, Ari, and that's something that I tell all of our clients, that what you sell, who you are, what you're saying should all be the same. And if it's not the same, then we have some work to do. So I think I wrote that from that angle, that like, what are your values, and are you living by them? And what do you believe in? And is it all the same? And if you're not able to answer that question fully, then I think there's some inner reflection to do there. So
Yes, 100%. I love that. I think when it comes to building your personal brand and realigning yourself through like the process of figuring yourself out, is that it changes. And it's like it's okay to have changes. Like I remember when I first started my my coaching sessions and I would do work with like inner child clients and stuff like that. And I tailored it to mostly women. And like you said, you start to have men audience. They started coming to me as well. It's like the idea that men are also experiencing the shifts and experiencing the trauma, and they also want answers. They also want to be included. So, and I had to be like, oh, I have to completely shift this to include men. And it's like,
yeah,
it's also like such an awareness that you are bringing in new crowds, new groups of people. It's super inspiring because you are shifting with the tides of change. And I think
yeah,
that's the most beautiful thing about your brand. It's like allow the space of shift to happen because so often people like build their brands and they expect like only a significant part of it to manifest.
hmm,
But that can be limiting, right? Because sometimes the idea of expansion is you don't know which direction it'll go to. So it's like as long as you're open for the possibilities
yeah.
and you have like a stable and grounded like mission statement, you have a clear awareness that you want to help people, it's like be open for the possibilities.
Totally, totally. But I think you nailed a point there, Ari, which is your anchor. What is your grounding? What is your anchor zone? What are your core values? Every single small business that works with us, Ari at Das Media, we help them with their personal mission statement. We help them with their core values. We help them with, hey, what do you as a founder, as the managing team of the business, what do you believe in? Because the business is going to reflect those values, right? And so I think an exercise for everybody watching, if you really want to be a go-getter, you want to make that first move to go get your goals, it really is about like anchoring into what your own core values are as you go into 2026, and how that will show up in your business, and in your life, right?
Yes, that's
Um,
beautiful. Anchoring in, it's perfection, because I think that's where people get so lost, is they don't know the characteristics of themselves, and the characteristics of who you
right.
are carries out everything you create, because it gives you kind of like the own validation that people seek out. It gives you your validation, so you don't have to like rush to ask people, is this okay, is that okay, because you'll be either waiting for the confirmation from external source, which might
Mhm.
or might not be reflective
Mhm.
of your own true self, and it might not be authentic. So you never know who you can trust. Sometimes people will say whatever you want to hear, which is not true. And sometimes
Right.
they will have ulterior motives. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. And especially when it comes to like branding, I know in terms of like astrology and the Chinese zodiac, we are shifting into a fire horse sign coming up in this new
Mhm.
year. And that's also like a great sign of preparation, production, action, because the sign of the horse is all about galloping into leadership positions, not taking no for an answer, not being afraid
Mhm.
or fearful of rejection, but
Right.
it's like the strength of and the source of manifestation is just like with the snap of the fingers, it's that quick. And I think it's a good lesson for everybody to tune into that vibe, even if you're feeling down and you're feeling like it's not
Mhm.
working out. It takes
Mhm.
1 second to make a realignment shifts with energy, with timeline. So I think to have faith and
Yeah.
to keep on pushing through, because we all do it. We all experience failure, uncomfortability,
Mhm.
the idea of returning back to 0 point field and starting again. It's like it's just part of expansion. It's part of the whole process.
But also, if you really are feeling so stuck, to anybody watching this, I urge you to ask this question of, where is my go-getter energy? And on a deeper note, where is my energy stuck, Ari? Because, as much as like I love, okay, work hard, be dedicated, be persistent, never give up, push through, there's also a part of me that I'm like, what's going wrong? And if you want to work with me to build your personal brand, obviously, we can do that, but you can also work on yourself, right? And so if you are feeling so stuck, you feel like everything that you want to manifest, nothing is working out, not, like, why? And if I double click into any of your situations, I can tell you the answer why immediately. I'll give you some very common reasons with my demographic of go-getters, which is limiting beliefs, right? There's a lot of like, I can't really do this. And so inevitably that doesn't happen because your belief going into this energy is, I can't do this, right? That's a big one. It's not possible for me, right? That's not even in my line of vision, right? So again, the universe will say, okay, well, you're blocking, it, so it's not going to happen. The third is, and I just posted about this week, an inability to work hard to get there. As much as there are structural inequalities and poverty and whatever, sometimes the solution is consistent work, Ari, which I'll be honest, not all go-getters are doing, right? Whether that's on your fitness goals, right? Or your mental health goals or your mindset goals. Sometimes it is literally daily meditation for 6 months, Ari. And if you don't do that, you I don't know how you're going to get there, right? So though I think those of you that are watching this, that are feeling stuck, that are feeling like, my manifestations are not coming true, I really want you to look into the mirror and ask yourself why, because I promise that you have the answer why. Because I have my own answers for what I have wanted that hasn't happened yet. I know why, and I'm working on that, right? So because my point is, I don't think push through is always the solution. And I don't think dedication always is the solution if there's a structural blockage, right? That's like me saying that, somebody has a heart blockage and I'm like, have a vitamin. That's not, that's just, there is a real problem here, right? Where his heart is blocked, right? So what do? We have to put a stent, he has to go through surgery. I mean, so I think that's also the question, that if you are genuinely struggling with things are just not working, things are just not manifesting, I really want you to ask yourself why, and I promise that will help a lot, because that has helped me a lot. Yeah,
That is
yeah.
so
And I
beautifully
and I, and
yeah.
I've been able to unblock my own go-getter energy doing that. Because like for me, like I'll say, okay, I was, I was a little bit, nervous about the size and scale of, media, and maybe that's why I was, acting a little bit cautiously. Okay, so now every day I'm meditating, I'm saying, I'm a go-getter, I'm amazing, I'm building a brand about being a go-getter. A lot of people are finding value in it. I have value, so I should charge this. So every day my energy levels are growing now, and I can finally see that reflected in the businesses that we're working with, how much I'm charging to build their brand. And so there is a reason that you're blocked, is what I'm saying. And the only person who knows why is you know so yeah, you have to ask yourself, why. I think that's a good, first step. So
You explained that so beautifully and so kind of intricately. That's so true. There are issues that if you actually would stop and ask yourself, it's like, has anyone done that? Everybody is pushing themselves so hard to keep going, keep continuing. Yes, just asking yourself that will also open up so many opportunities for deeper healing or for deeper, like you said, restructuring that has to happen. It's 100% true. When we do feel that spiritual kind of stagnancy, it gives us the feeling of depression, anxiety, restlessness. And I think it's very healthy to ask the question why and to try to figure out the
Mhm.
solution, because it's also all about bringing in that clarity for yourself, which is super, super, super inspiring. It also will help you to create that much more authenticity through every channel that you want to express yourself in, and
Mhm.
how to breathe more clearly to gain clarity in your goals in 2026. I love this. I feel like we did touch a lot with meditation, with asking questions. Is there anything else when it comes to like how to breathe? Is this like doing like breathing exercises also?
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And again, I attended a course on breathing, but you can Google it, you can see online. But just honestly, in a nutshell, it's a lot of clear breathing and it's a lot of deep breathing. So, count 4 in, hold 6 out. So, just very deep, intentional breathing. I think that's going to help everybody a lot, right? And, again, focusing on, who you are, why you're blocked, and how do you unblock it. So, like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I met someone who said, she's a go-getter, and she, is like always kind of been in bad relationships. We'll leave it at that. And she goes, anytime I feel this need for a man, she goes, I just tell myself, no, you're good, you're fine, everything is fine, you don't need a man. And I told her, I was like, that's not the solution. That's not what a go-getter would do, right? The solution is not, you don't need a man. Like, you can't deny your own desires and needs, but it's the fact that there's a lot of unhealed energy in her which keeps attracting the wrong man. And so what I told her is that the answer is not, you don't need a man. The answer is, you have to fix yourself so that you only attract the right men. You know what I'm saying? So again, she is like, oh, heart attack, let me just take a vitamin. That's not going to help, right? So what I encouraged her to do is like fix what's causing the problem, which is a lot of just negative, relationship patterns and maybe how she grew up, and why she is attracting the wrong men all the time, that are taking from her, that are not really contributing, that are taking advantage of her. That was her pattern. And so, and then she's like, oh, like, I never thought about, because we can't just deny, like, we can't be like, well, I don't need this, I don't need friends, I don't need a man, I don't. That's not the solution. But the solution is, how do I have friends that are not toxic, or how do I have a man who's like not abusive? There's a way to get there. You see what I'm saying? The solution is
Yes.
not, I don't need a man, and I don't need any friends, I don't, so I think that's what I told her. And I think, again, I want more go-getters to look at themselves and see, why am I consistently attracting the wrong men? And I promise you, if you start asking that question, answers will come. Answers are bound to come, because you will see a very strong pattern in all the guys that you've dated or whatever, and then you'll see that, why am I, always in this situation?
A
And then when I
hundred
told
percent.
her that she can have like a better guy or whatever, she's like, oh my God, I didn't even know that's possible. And that's the beauty of energy, Ari, right? This is like your world, that if I change my energy, I actually can change what happens in my life, right? So
So, so
yeah, like, that's
empowering. So,
true.
so true.
That's like really true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is so 100% true. Like, I remember how we get our perception of romance and relationships usually starts in high school. And like, I
Mhm.
remember my friends were also going through this trauma and heartbreak, and this kind of like cemented their decision on men, and this gave them
Yeah.
such a limited view on what they
Yeah.
think they deserve in adulthood. And I was like, yeah, we have to go back to like our high school days to go through healing and to figure out what
Like,
happened
mhm.
and where we
Mhm.
didn't choose ourselves. Like, I was going through like TikTok, and I saw that it was the 20th anniversary of the High School Musical, and I was like thinking like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that time was such a long
Yeah.
time ago. And it's like, that's what so many of us millennials were going through. Like, we were imagining the fairy tale, the most beautiful love story, and obviously we have trauma. Even if we found our love story, we always
Yeah.
experience levels of trauma and like
Yeah.
dissolution of things that are happening. So yeah, it's really wise to go back into that high school state and to be like, what happened where my kind of definition of love or romance
Yeah.
limited me or made me feel like less than what I deserve, right?
Well, and also, like, yesterday, this go getter, she's saying, I heard this couple arguing, and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I think what I was trying to tell her is that this is one example of what it could be for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's also happy relationships. There's also very positive relationships. There's also relationships where both people are like thriving, and they don't argue as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's only looking at the negatives and being like, well, I don't want that, so I don't need a man, I don't want a man. And so she's literally like shutting herself off from that possibility. And the same is true, Ari. Again, I know this is one of your favorite topics as well. This is also true with money. The number of women that I meet and coach on their branding that have crazy thoughts about money, and about how, like, basically having too much money is gonna screw them over. So then they're like, I don't want anything, like, I don't want anyone. And then they're like, well, I'm not making enough. But she's not making enough because she has this belief that basically money is bad. And the number of even women that tell me more money, more problems, is crazy, right? So if that's your belief, that more money, more problems, then I'm not surprised that money doesn't feel safe with you, right? So then you never have enough, right? And you're always struggling. And so these are some of the patterns that I notice in my audience. Specifically, love and money are two of the biggest topics. So yeah.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
so true. You literally nailed that. The lack mentality that people have, that they're figuring out they have, is amazing, because a lot of people are actually figuring out that they were going through life with a lack mentality. And they were
Right.
connecting those dots to be like, oh, like somebody in my family had this, and I just took it over. I just continued that
Yeah.
generational cycle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
So, well, and also like there's a lot of like men are bad and money is bad, right? So there's no like there's nothing in the middle, right? And so then she's always in bad relationships and she never has enough money. Like those are two very clear outcomes of those situations, right? So I think that I think what I'm saying is there's something in the middle. I think that's what I'm trying to say is that there's something in the middle. I'm not educating all my go-getters to all make, so much money. Everybody has different goals, Ari, right? And if, someone really doesn't want a man, I'm not going to be, saying that you should, have a man, like, so you can decide what you want. I think what we're both saying is come from a place of the right way of that thought, because I felt a little sad yesterday with this woman where she's saying I don't, anytime I want a relationship or companionship, which, as you know, is a divine feminine need. Let me be very honest, but it's a divine feminine need to feel protected, and and for those of us that are heterosexual, to have this divine masculine counterpart. I'm not saying anything wrong. This is a biological need. This is in many ways how we were made, right? How we were created. For me to be this divine feminine sort of goddess, and for a man to hold me and to contain me, that is our God-given purpose. And so for her to be like, I don't need it, I don't want it, I'm seeing it, I feel upset, like it just made me a little sad, because I realized that it doesn't have to be this way. And the reason she's avoiding it is because she's always in the wrong situations. But if I were her, I would try to figure out why I'm always poor, or why I'm always attracting the wrong men. Yeah, that's to me
wow.
what a go-getter would do. That's what a go-getter would do. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah,
so
yeah,
beautiful, and it brings such
yeah,
like a full circle moment, I think, when we go through trauma in relationships and money, and then we realize that we were actually just like scared of our own shadow and scared of parts of ourselves. It's such a wake up call, and also it's a time where that kind of recovery process and the healing journey begins, where we have to forgive ourselves. And that's a whole other thing, where we have to forgive
right.
the parts of ourselves that was hurt, and to see that, it's like you have to see your inner child, and you want to, like,
That's
today's
right.
hugging day, yeah, you want to hug your inner child, you want to hug yourself,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you want to forgive yourself and forgive the
yeah.
people who imprinted that on you, because it's like we have to constantly reaffirm, realign our beliefs to match how we want to navigate the world. And you mentioned it so beautifully, like, yes, so many women crave a healthy partnership with this
Mhm,
divinity in mind, with this
mhm.
collaboration, partnership. And there's a whole new awakening of people coming together in healthy partnerships because they have been on the journey of healing and
Yeah,
learning who they are, learning that it's okay to want the things that they want and to ask
yeah.
for that. I think there's so much fear in just asking for what you want that people just completely
Sure.
don't even ask for it, right?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, see, this is a great example where, okay, women following me, they're like, I don't want to, ask for what I want. I'm scared. If I am even coaching them in the DMs, Ari, the first question I would say is, what is preventing you from asking for what you want? We need to heal that so that she feels comfortable asking for what you want. Like, I can't, do you see what I mean? Like, I can't force her to start asking for what she wants, because there is a deeper trauma basically that is preventing her from asking for what she wants, right? So that's like my brand is centered around healing the core issues that are preventing her from being a go-getter. And by the way, I use that stuff on myself too. So when I feel like, I'm not at the revenue level I should be, or whatever, what is holding me back from making more money? And I promise you, Ari, I have come up with answers to that, because I can't just say I want to make more money and I'm not healing my own, issues, to where money is not feeling safe to land in me. Right. And also, like, I'm also a big believer that anybody who follows me, I want you to go get things for the right reasons. There's also a lot of people who follow me, Ari, that make a lot of money, but from a place of wounding, and from a place of like hurt, and from a place of like, I don't have enough money, I need money, I'm going to survival. I don't like that. Like, I don't, that's not what I advocate, even though on paper, right, they have a lot of money and everything. But I think the way they achieved that is not what I would recommend to my audience. Because when you double click on their life, they're very sad and unfulfilled personally. That's a big theme that I've seen come up online, where all these women and men are very financially successful, but they are kind of like the wrong relationships, the wrong men, the wrong women, because basically they're not in alignment with themselves, right? So I think my practice is to be a go-getter in a healthy way, and in a positive way, that you are making money from a place of worth, not from a place of like wounding and hurt and pain.
Podpitch is the first and only software that finds, writes, and sends pitches to podcast hosts from your actual email address. Podpitch will make sure you get podcast bookings, guaranteed. Link in the description of the podcast. ClickFunnels easily build any type of online business and sales funnel in record time, no matter what your product, service, or niche, without any tech design or experience whatsoever. Try the ClickFunnels 14-day free trial. Link in the description of the podcast. Sanger Daniel's online seminar promoting a positive message of self-healing with bioenergy work together with live seminars and remote coaching. Use code BIO20 for a 20% discount for our audience. Link in the description of the podcast.
And then you have a man not because you like need him, but because you are strong, you know. And so I think that's also what I'm trying to teach my audience. But to be fair, a lot of what we've talked about so far, you and I, comes down to self-reflection, self introspection, and self awareness, you know. So I think a lot of people, and I've seen even just yesterday, one guy was like, I want to be a go getter. I want to maybe start a business, but, right now I'm just interviewing. I'm happy for now. Like, you can't lie to yourself. If you're not happy, you're not happy. So, yeah, and I told him, I said, I want you to be a go-getter. I want you to think about, the next thing, and don't lie to yourself. That's what I told him. I said, don't lie to yourself. If you're not happy, you're not happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad thing, but you have to be honest with yourself, you know?
Wow, this
So,
is so beautiful. I
yeah,
love how you're kind of giving us a snippet into your
yeah,
world of coaching
yeah.
and guiding. It's such a gift. And like, wow, Shinjini, what a beautiful conversation. I feel like I could talk to you for hours because whenever we come together, we are connecting the dots of every timeline of every cycle that we are processing collectively. This is a wonderful conversation. I feel like our audience is going to learn so many valuable tips about moving out of survival into thriving. And in order to do
Yeah.
that, we really have to work on the intentionality and the journey of integration and jotting your notes, doing your affirmations, doing your manifestations, your meditations, and like it's a whole
Yeah.
process and it
It's
takes
it's
hard
a lot.
work.
It takes hard work, and I'll be honest. I think the reason that you feel so much synergy is in the beginning, Ari. I was just action oriented. Go, 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 get it done. What do we need to do? But then I realized that for me to go get like what I want, in my case, more money, bigger brand, whatever, I have to feel safe enough to receive those things, right? And so that led me on a spiritual journey. And I think that the reason you feel so much solidarity and connection with me and my content now is because I do talk about those aspects now. Because, and when I see my clients and just people who follow me, not everybody is like a personal branding or coaching client, how to be a go-getter. Some people I just give advice in the DMs, and they are struggling with very similar things, right? Of how do I feel safe enough to start a business, or this guy is like providing stability for my family is everything. And I said, yes, but you can also be in a situation where you're providing stability and you are happy. And I saw like his face light up virtually, because he was like, oh my God, I didn't even know that that's an option for me. So I think the reason I'm saying is before I wasn't as spiritual, and I didn't have as much of a connection with the things I do now. But because of my blockages, and because I was hitting a block where I'm like, I want more money, I want more this, and it's like it wasn't really happening. And then I realized, oh my God, I need to start meditating regularly, increasing my own go getter energy levels so that I am happier, healthier, more able to receive more money, more influence, more, audiences, more go getters. Right. And so that put me on the journey that I'm on now. And so now, when like he said that, I asked him in the voice notes yesterday, I said, is there fear holding you back? And he's like, yeah. So, but you're like me before, I would have been like, go get it. What is fear? Forget about fear. But now I realize that, if he's a man with 3 kids, he has some fear in starting a business. Like, I can't just like ignore that. So I think now how yes, coach, how I approach my go getters, even in the DMs, is with a lot of respect for their situation. And I don't think I had that as much before. But it was because of my own blockages that I was forced to develop that relationship with spirituality. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is so beautiful. Your personal
Yeah. Yeah.
story of
Yeah.
self-reflection, I think it's the
Yeah.
greatest gift to give, because
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
individual integration, people are able to
Mm.
learn. I think the
Yeah.
most difficult thing is when we are sharing our own vulnerability. It takes so much courage to understand that within ourselves and to share that. And you're doing such a beautiful work to share that with the world. So it's just so
Yeah.
lovely. Thank you so much for participating in this experiment of like spirituality, because
So,
we are just learning as we go along. There are no rules.
Ari, I think my good news is that I can get unstuck so fast. And I'm so proud of that for me now because I have such a deeper, honestly, deeper divine feminine, because you know that divine feminine is all about flow, and it's all about how do I get flowing again. So I think the same way I help myself get unstuck is now how I help my clients to them. And they appreciate it because they're like, thank you so much. Like, because sometimes they don't even know why they're blocked, you know yeah.
Wow,
So
that's amazing. And I think for people who are in the fearful mentality about
yeah.
money and receiving
Yeah.
money, go out and
Yeah.
give your money. Can you volunteer? Can you give
Yeah.
back in a way where you are feeling that flow, where you're giving somebody that attention? And it could be financial, it could be financial support if you're able to do
Yeah.
that. But that will take away the fear, I think, so much more than just like processing and journaling. It's like getting out into the world and see how the money exchange happens, how people helping people is the
Yeah.
actual energy exchange, and money is just the energy source that helps to connect all the dots. It helps to
Yeah.
heal more, it helps to give more. That's why money originally should have been that source of
Yeah.
life. Of course, it's
Yeah.
life affirming.
But for most people following me, Ari, I'll be honest, they come from difficult, situations and upbringings, and money was always something that they never had. So when you start your relationship with money from that angle, it's very difficult to build abundance. It's very difficult to build, anything that's not scarcity. And I have empathy for that. I do. That like that's what I'm saying. Like I think God has given me this gift to figure it out for myself, which I've had to do on my own, right? And then now I can like do this for other people. And I think that they are very appreciative of this. And a lot of that is, again, just connecting with my divine feminine. For me, more than giving money or volunteering at places, for me, I'll be honest, Ari, putting energy back into myself has helped a lot because every day I am reinforcing the belief that I always have energy, I always have money. I say that every day now. I always have money.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes, that
Yeah.
affirmation is
Yes.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Because then,
building.
like, I'm always, yeah. So, but again, look, if anybody takes away anything from today, let it be that this transformation that I like to call from dreamer to go getter, so I'm in a survival mindset, life is hard, to I'm thriving, I'm growing, I have a business, I have a career. It's a lot of hard work, Ari. And I wish more people knew that and understood what that means. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
such a beautiful closing message, such a healing conversation. I'm already waiting for our next episode because I feel like every time we meet, we are healing multi-generationally.
Yes.
It's just such a
Yes.
gift. Yes, thank you
Yes.
so much
Yes.
for coming. And where can people connect with you and see all of your brilliant content?
Sure. So Speaker Shinjini, find me on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram, find me on X, find me on YouTube. I would love to have you all in my community of go-getters. We're building out so many things for you. Send me a DM. I'm a big fan of coaching my go-getters individually. We help men and women equally. Again, I have an 80% sort of male audience, but who knows? Maybe one day that'll be 80% women. Regardless of who you are, I want to help you be a go getter. I want to help you make that first move to go get your goals. And honestly, after today, I also want to add in, I want to help you uncover what is holding you back from, going and getting your goals, because I promise you that's actually where like a lot of the problem is right now for my demographic, whether that's fear, fear of money or whatever it is, so we can help you discover that. Because yeah, again, I've been, so we're turning 10 years old this year, Ari, my company, my media company. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. In the beginning, there was a lot of context in my content around go get it, be a go getter. I think as I've also matured, because I started really young, right? I started at 24. And so as I also grew up, I think that's when I started having more emotional texture, that this is not as easy as go get it. There are some men who just think that they don't deserve good things, they don't deserve to make money, they don't. So that's when I started involving some of that into my content, and the response has been overwhelming, because I think people are reading the content on X, on this LinkedIn, and saying, oh my god, she knows that I have a money block. She knows that I'm struggling to believe in myself, that it's not that I'm dumb, it's not that I'm just bad at school, but it's that like I have trouble focusing, or I have ADHD, or so I think I'm very proud of that. I would say coming into my 30s, for sure, I've involved more of that texture into my content, because I think in the beginning I also was like, well, go get it, why aren't you going and getting it, but I think now, like, I'm realizing that there's fear, there's safety is a big topic. I think even for me, I didn't feel safe accepting so much money before. Probably the reason that I never saw the money that I wanted was because I didn't feel safe accepting that much money. So I've worked on that every day. I'm like, I have enough money, I have. So now I think God sees that I have more availability to accept more money, and that's why I'm finally getting there. So yeah, I think it's, yeah, it's a process, but yeah, hopefully you see that this journey is not linear, and that going from a dreamer to a go-getter is a lifelong journey. But please follow me so that I can help you on your journey of fitness goals, mental health goals, academic goals, school grades goals, money goals, all of that.
Amazing. And like you just said, availability. That's probably the best word of the year. Availability. Mind, body, soul, presence.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Jeannie. I love it.
Yeah, it's okay. And also, like, every time we talk, I'm up leveling in the middle. So that's why, like, we always have different things to talk about, because you're going on your own journey in the middle, and I'm going on my own journey in the middle.
Exactly. Yes.
And we move, like, there. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I love this. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay. Okay.